For decades, the legend of the Chupacabra has hunted the shadows of Latin America, a creature whispered about in hushed tones, responsible for grotesque animal killings. It's a classed cryptid, a mystery, a monster that exists somewhere between folklore and frightening reality. But what if those whispers suddenly got louder? What if the legend stepped out of the shadows and back into the news cycle, not as a blurry photo from decades ago, but as a current, ongoing event? Well, that's exactly what's happening right now in Argentina. Recently, a series of very strange animal deaths on a ranch in the community of Tintina has sparked widespread concern and inevitably reignited fears that the legendary Chupacabra might just be real and might be hunting again. Today, we're going to dive deep into these reports and explore the history of the Chupacabra and try to unpack what could really be going on a ranch in Argentina. Only on this episode of The Weekly Strange. Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Weekly Strange. I'm your host, John F. Murs, author, actor, adventurer. Hope you all had a very nice Labor Day weekend. I know I sure did. So let's get straight into the facts of these recent reports. The story centers around a rancher named Eduardo Terán in the community of Tintina, which is located in the Santiago del Estero province of Argentina. According to Terán's account, over the last few months, his farm has been experiencing a rather disturbing pattern of livestock deaths. We're talking about dozens of his calves. Now, livestock deaths are unfortunately and inevitably a part of ranching. Predators exist, accidents happen, sicknesses, you name it. But Terán and his community describe these killings as having an unusual quality to them. And it's this unusual nature that has led many in the area to jump to a chilling conclusion. They're blaming the Chupacabra. So why Chupacabra? What are these unusual qualities that immediately bring this specific cryptid or phenomenon to mind? Well, the core characteristics of a Chupacabra attack, according to folklore, they're very specific. Pardon me, had to hack up a lung there. The name itself, Chupacabra, literally translates from Spanish as goat sucker. The initial sightings in Puerto Rico in the mid-1990s described an unknown creature attacking livestock, particularly goats, and draining them of their blood, often leaving behind very specific puncture wounds. Now, the key elements that typically lead people to suspect a Chupacabra attack include 1, multiple animal deaths, often dozens of animals in a relatively short span of time. 2, specific types of animals, primarily livestock like goats, chickens, or in this case, calves. 3, unusual wounds, puncture marks, often in the neck or chest, but seemingly little other mutilation. 4, lack of blood. The animals are often reported to be drained of blood without a significant pool around the carcass. And 5, no consumption of flesh. The bodies are usually left mostly intact, suggesting the creature isn't eating the meat, but rather extracting fluids. These are the very specific details that Terán's community is wrestling with right now. If these descriptions hold true, it's understandable why people in a region steeped in such folklore would immediately connect the dots and blame the Chupacabra. Now, to understand the fear that now grips Tintina, we need to quickly just drop back and see where this legend truly began. The Chupacabra is a relatively young cryptid, unlike Bigfoot or the Loch Ness Monster, which have literally centuries of folklore behind them. The modern Chupacabra phenomenon really kicked off in the year 1995 in Puerto Rico, so it's 30 years old. That year, a series of mysterious livestock killings began occurring across the island. Animals were found dead, reportedly with 2 distinct puncture wounds, and they were all drained of blood. Witnesses described a strange creature. Some said it was bipedal, standing like a kangaroo with large red eyes, while others described it as more reptilian in appearance with spines down its back. The media, both local and international, quickly picked up the story, and the name Chupacabra was coined. And the interesting thing is, from Puerto Rico, which is an island, the phenomenon spread rapidly. Sightings and similar animal deaths were reported in Mexico, across Central and South America, and even into parts of the United States, particularly Texas. Each region often added its own twist to the creature's descriptions, but the core characteristic of a blood-draining predator remained. This rapid spread, fueled by media and eyewitness accounts, firmly cemented the Chupacabra into modern cryptid folklore. And I heard about it when Mulder referred to it during an episode of The X-Files, and I bet a lot of people did the same. But, and as we always try to do on this show, examine things from a rational perspective. Before we get too carried away with the whole notion of the Chupacabra as a cryptid that is hunting in Argentina right now, I think it's important that we examine the events through sort of a skeptical scientific lens. For every Chupacabra sighting, there are usually far more mundane, ordinary, albeit still unpleasant explanations as to what could have possibly occurred. And animal experts and biologists have consistently offered several explanations for these types of livestock killings. Number 1, known predators. Coyotes, wild dogs, bobcats, foxes, and even large raptors, birds of prey, can attack and kill livestock. The puncture wounds are often consistent with bite marks from canids or felines. Then there's scavenging. Sometimes an animal dies from natural causes, and then the scavengers come in. These scavengers can leave behind partial carcasses or even specific types of wounds that are often misinterpreted as something more sinister. Then there's the whole blood loss or blood draining. The idea of animals being drained of blood is often exaggerated. When an animal dies, its blood quickly clots and settles within the body's cavities. It doesn't typically pool externally in large quantities, leading sometimes to the false impression that the blood has been drained. Mange and disease. Many alleged Chupacabra carcasses, particularly in the United States, have been identified by biologists as coyotes, dogs, or raccoons suffering from severe mange. Now, this parasitic skin disease causes hair loss, thickened skin, and a gaunt appearance, making the animal look monstrous and unfamiliar. And then you've got folklore and mass hysteria. In communities where legends are strong, fear can spread rapidly. When a strange event occurs, a community's existing folklore provides an easy, sort of ready-made explanation, even if scientific evidence points elsewhere. Now, this isn't to say that people are lying, but rather that human perception and interpretation can be heavily influenced by belief systems. Now, in this specific case of Eduardo Terran's ranch in Tintina, without a full investigation by local authorities and or wildlife experts and scientists, it's impossible to say definitively what caused the deaths of his calves. But the most common culprits for livestock predation in Argentina would likely include pumas, wild dogs, or even large raptors, depending on the specific circumstances and location. The unusual nature of the wounds would need very careful examination by veterinarians to rule out known animal attacks or even diseases. So if there are so many rational explanations, why do these Chupacabra stories persist? Why do communities like Tintina immediately turn to the possibility of a cryptid when something strange happens to their livestock? Well, part of it obviously is simple human psychology. When faced with something seemingly inexplicable, our brains try to make sense of it. And when you're a rancher losing your livelihood and the usual culprits don't seem to fit, it's natural to seek extraordinary explanations. These animals represent his family's income, food, and security. Their sudden mysterious deaths can be genuinely terrifying and economically devastating. Beyond that, cryptids like the Chupacabra often serve as cultural archetypes. They embody our fears of the unknown, of nature's unpredictable violence, and perhaps even of something alien in our familiar world. In rural areas far out from urban centers, people are often more attuned to the natural world and also more connected to traditional folklore. A story about a chupacabra can quickly spread through word of mouth, becoming a powerful shared narrative, even if it lacks empirical proof. So what is the final verdict on the Tintina incident and the Chupacabra? Well, as of now, it remains a mystery, at least from a cryptid perspective. The reports are compelling and the fear in the community is very real, but without concrete verifiable evidence, without a body, DNA evidence, or definitive scientific analysis of the kill sites, the Chupacabra will likely remain in the realm of cryptid legend. What these stories do remind us, however, is the power of the unexplained. They highlight the tension between our rational minds and our deep-seated need to believe in something beyond the ordinary. And we've talked about this before. People are stressed out in day-to-day life, and holding on to a mystery can often be, strange as it sounds, very soothing. Whether it's a cunning predator, a strange disease, or indeed something entirely unknown, the events in Tintina are a stark reminder that even in our modern world, the wild can still hold secrets. And sometimes those secrets are terrifying enough to breathe new life into an old legend. Okay, that's going to do it for this episode of The Weekly Strange. If you like the video, please be sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of my new uploads. And if you really like the content that I'm creating, think this is just sort of a cool entertainment powerhouse for the paranormal, which I will take as a compliment. Thank you. Please consider joining the channel as a paid member to get access to some really cool perks. I will see you all in a very few days with another episode of The Weekly Strange, and I'm sure we'll probably fit an episode of Extra Strange in there as well. Until then, thank you very much for watching. Thank you for listening. Have a great night.